What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today's video is inspired by an interview that I saw on another podcast. I don't want to say the podcast. I don't want to say the guest. Some of you have probably seen it. And, I'm not going to get into a war of words. I don't do that stuff. But so I saw this guy and he's been making his rounds on a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube channels. He goes a little crazy on TikTok. And, I mentioned him a little bit the other day. And I think he might be an all right dude as far as good-hearted. But I think there's just some stuff not clicking up there, right? And so he told a story about cell extracting, flooding the tier in prison, right? And I believe he said state prison, that he flooded the tier and that the homies were mad at him. But he was like, man, fuck them Judas. They're going to have to clean that up. And I've never heard of that in my life. I've never heard of one individual taking it upon himself to flood the tier. Like that's frowned upon. When you flood the tier, you don't get to control where that water goes. You don't get to tell that water, hey, just go where the Judas have to pick it up. When you flood the tier, you're flooding your neighbors. They're flooding cells up and down the tier. And they're not all your homies. Your homies, whatever faction you're from, when you flood a tier, they don't want that water in their fucking cell. They don't know if you clean your toilet bowl right every day, if you clean it every time you use it. And even if you do, the drain itself, you can't clean up in there. They don't want that fucking water in their cell on their towel, and you know what I'm saying? So I found that very strange that someone would tell a story. And I mean, I don't know if it's true. I don't know where the individual was, where he was able to do that and not get hit, not have somebody, whack him. I told a story once before. I'll tell it again. So back in the oil in 96, there was a particular legend there, and I'd say New Folsom with us, right? And, when you have them, back then it was different. It wasn't like now where everybody's out. Back then you meet them and you're going to have questions. You're going to ask about certain things, clarification on certain programming issues, right? Or with having to do with certain programming aspects, right? And that individual is going to tell you his belief on that thing. They don't all have the same exact beliefs, but he's going to give you what he expects. Okay. He had been asked specifically what was expected or how to deal with people holding trays and cell extracting, right? Flooding the tier. Because for those of you that don't know, this is what usually would happen. When somebody's gonna cell extract, or a group decide that they're gonna cell extract, they're gonna hold their tray hostage. So what happens is, say at dinner or at breakfast, whatever time that group agrees upon, when they serve, let's say it's at breakfast, they serve their breakfast. When the cops come around to pick up trays, that faction tells them, come in here and get it. Oh, is that what we're doing today? They'll go to somebody else from that faction. Isaac, go down the tier. We get your tray. Come in and get it. So then they know, okay, boom. They got to let the sergeant know this and this and that. So then what people do is they'll usually rip up paper, but they let everybody on the tier know. Every group, like, hey, we're going to be doing this. No disrespect. We got to handle our business, right? And they'll rip up paper, throw it out on the tier. And then they would throw something in their toilet so it would stop it up and then start flushing. This was before they put the timers on the toilets, and they'd flush, and you just watch water start pouring off the second tier. Water's flying out of the cell or pouring out. Because what people would do is it would jam up their doors to try to hold the water back for as long as they could. And then once themselves were flooded out, they would remove the stop on the door and water would just push out. Because once the water comes out, the cops come in, they turn all the water off. Everybody's water gets turned off. Most of the time, they don't even wait. They're like, fuck that. We know what's next. But the pieces of paper that were shredded up and thrown out there on the tier, they clogged the drain. They'll try to make the water soapy, or at least the front end of the cell. Just trying to do whatever they can to make it difficult for the COs. They'll wet toilet paper and put it all over the cell windows, so the COs can't look in. They don't know where you are. They know you're in the cell, but they don't know where in the cell are you. They don't know how if you got the cell, hooked up, however you can. But anyways, so that's what takes place, and then the cops will come in. The cops will come in. Back then, they would come in, and they'd be black motorcycle helmet on. They'd have towels around their neck. They'd have towels or wraps around their elbows, so to block off the arteries. They have their stab vests on. They have a shield guy. The biggest guy is going to have the shield. He's going to run in first. But they're going to have, if there's one dude in the cell, 6 cops are going in there. If there's 2 dudes, they're going to try to push 12 up in there, right? Again, they have all the protective gear on. You have a fucking shirt wrapped around your face, and nothing else. And they're going to beat the fucking dog shit out of you. That was a given, right? Now, getting back to this particular legend, I will never say his name. But he was asked what he felt when it came to if a Jura disrespects, how should that be handled? He said, if a Jura ever disrespects you, there's 2 ways you deal with it. You either 602 him, which is an inmate appeal, a grievance form you could file. So he says, you either 602 him or you whack him. And he said, as far as all that holding trays and doing all that bullshit, he said, that's, I don't want to say the groups he mentioned, but he said, that's their stilo. It's not ours. So his whole thing was handle your business, 602 him or come out on the tier and whack him, right? And he said, and he made it very clear, he said, if any of you vatos ever feel disrespected by a Jura, before 6 Juras come in my cell and fuck me up, a Jura better have gotten whacked. So, because of that, my stance was always clear. When it came to vatos want to start talking about, hey, Holmes, we should cell extract. I said, nope. I vote no. Also, when you're in a position of authority in prison and you start talking about everybody's going to move for whatever reason, you better have a very good reason to put people in harm's way. And you better realize if there's any homies that have health issues, heart conditions that could get them hurt or they can die in the process, you're responsible for that as well. Because he's not going to say no. He's going to participate. Did you have him participate and die for something that was petty to justify your own little punk ass ego? Or was it something that was really necessary for the group? So anyways, I just wanted to put that out there where me personally, I was like, what? One individual took it upon himself to bring heat on the whole tier, that whole faction, and he said he didn't give a fuck. Well, I guess no one else gave a fuck and they should have. It's bad. I remember a CO. I remember a CO in AdSeg telling us a particular group, because they had boarded up their windows, they had flooded the tier, and then they gave the trays back, and nothing was accomplished. And I remember that CO telling one of the dudes from that faction, "Damn, so you just write checks you can't cash?" And And you know, in prison, especially in Pelican Bay, when you hear something, like somebody does something, this is what you hear. That was one of those moments where you heard. That's bad. That's a bad look. But what could that dude do? I'm pretty sure it wasn't his decision. His people told him, hey, give the tray back up for whatever their reason. But when it's decided to go, you're supposed to go. Anyways, that's my video for today. Another glimpse at prison. Another look at how something might happen on a different tier that you know nothing about, and you're going to have to perform because someone's ego got bruised up. Because back then, there would be times when there was a before I go, let me bring this up. There was a famous sal extraction that happened in Calipatria. Calipatria has always been off the hook, right? But especially back then when it first opened. They had a dude. This was back when there was a llaves, the llaveros were in place still. And the llavero decided that because the cornbread was too small to tell 74 dudes, and that ad say, suit up, paper up, hold your tray, fuck these huras. And this was back before they were just utilizing the gas. See, now they in the 2000s, they stopped calling them cell extractions, and New Folsom, they were calling them cell rescues. They would just keep pumping gas in there until you passed out or gave up. No, this was before then. This was in the 90s when that happened in Calipatria. It took 3 days for them to cell extract all 74 dudes. A lot of raza from Southern California got a lot of bumps, bruises, and stitches because one dude felt he should have had a bigger piece of cornbread. There you go. If you don't want to get beat up in prison because another guy doesn't like the portion he got on his prison tray, then keep your ass out of jail. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.